So look, I want you guys to think about this. I did run through this with another student earlier in the week as well. So this was one thing where I actually got him to think about specifically what his goals are. And it's not just about writing down a really high level goal. You've really got to think about it and become emotionally invested in that goal, and then work backwards from that goal. So from the guys that are on, they just have, throw some comments in the chat section. Have a think about your 10-year goal. So, the first question is complete your goal achievement for 10, 5, and 1 year goals. So I'm not going to go through the actual item, but you need to do this in your own time because it will take, potentially a bit of time. But this item here, this goal setting exercise, I've given you a list of 20 goals. It doesn't have to be 20 goals for 10 years. It can be less than that. But, I just want you to think about your ultimate goal. One person that I was talking to during the week had an ultimate goal in 10 years to make $400,000 a year passively. So that is the ultimate goal for 10 years. And then you've got to work that back to, okay, if I'm making $400,000 a year and it's passive, then I've got my time back. So what am I going to do with my time? So I asked him, well, what are you going to do with whatever, 60 hours a week that you would otherwise be working, or, 40, whatever, however many hours a week you work. It's pretty easy to work 60 hours a week and still have other commitments, I believe, unless you're sleeping 10 hours a night. So, what are you going to do with your time if that's your goal? And then that gets you to start thinking about that emotional connection. So write down, yes, your ultimate goal for 10 years is 400 grand a year passive income and doing whatever it is. His was charity work. So he wants to do, him and his wife want to do full-time charity work and give back to the community. So now, what is that going to look like? That's going to look like, his first goal might be 400 grand a year. Second goal, on this is spend full time with, this particular charity. The third one might be, like spend time with my kids, or go on holidays, or go to, blah location, Bahamas for a month and then go to somewhere else. So it's just really thinking about that emotional connection, because money is the thing that buys you back the time ultimately. And it also, buys you holidays and, a house to live in and all that other stuff. So really get clear about your goals, because it is in the first section. And I know some people haven't done it, and just don't underestimate the importance of doing it and getting clear with your goals. Because if you're not clear about your goals and you don't know where you're going, you'll end up wherever. You could end up really successful, or, most people that don't have their goals written down actually don't end up, achieving anything at all. So don't underestimate the power of writing any goals. So look, I'm just going to use him as an example. I won't say who it is. He was 400,000 a year, 10-year goal, and he wanted to give back to charity. So that was his ultimate 10-year goal. Then, his ultimate 5-year goal was, all right, if I can do 400 in 10 years, let's do 200. And that was to replace his income. So ultimately, his 5-year goal, it's 200 grand a year. It's monetary, but ultimately it's, I want to replace my income, or I am replacing my income, or I have replaced my income, and I have my time freedom back. Now, 200 grand a year is going to replace his income, but it's not going to get him, better quality of life. It's not going to get him a nicer house, nicer cars, if that's the thing that he wants to do, or, he wants to give back to charity and community groups. So, it doesn't allow additional money for that. So, his 5-year was to quit work, then get your time freedom back. Just from my own experience, once I had my time freedom back from work, it actually accelerated me so much faster than what I was trying to do with working and trying to do, a side hustle, because your focus is back and forth. Plus also that employee mentality, if you are an employee, it's very different. That level of thinking is very different to working for yourself. And running on performance, basically, because if you don't perform, then you don't get paid. So, you need to add value. So that whole mindset from employee to business owner is a very different mindset, that once you get out of that employee role and into that business owner mindset, and you guys should be doing this now as well, get out of that work for 1 hour and get paid for 1 hour. You might do 10 hours worth of work and get paid nothing, which is likely going to happen in the early stages because you're building the foundation. But then, as you accelerate, you might do 10 hours worth of work and you get paid for 100 or 1,000. But that's not going to happen straight away. You got to do the groundwork. So it's about not trading time for money. It's about trading value for money. So the value that you add to, somebody who's going to buy the property at the end, or another, whether that's a homeowner or a developer that's paying you for that property. So anyway, just get really super clear about this. If you can't get to 20, it doesn't matter. Just write down something. The fact is that you've got to have it written down. And I encourage you to print this off and look at it every day. You've got your ultimate goal, and then 1 year goal. And look, I've even given you some examples. Make them specific. There's timelines. Live in that vision, that goal. Don't just write down, something monetary, because you're never going to do anything with that. So what you should do is print it out, stick it on your mirror, put it somewhere where you're going to see them every day. And then the biggest thing to have is actually your ultimate goal, and for the example that I used with the person I spoke to during the week, his ultimate goal was making $400,000 a year. So I'm so happy and grateful now that I am making $400,000 a year, and I can donate to XYZ charity, and I can dedicate my time to my children, my wife, and the things that I love to do. That's his ultimate goal. You put that on your mirror, you read that every day, it reminds you. But it's not so much the reading, it actually gets embedded into your subconscious. So your subconscious, once you feed it information so often, so frequently, it actually doesn't know the difference between reality and not reality. So you actually feed that into your subconscious and you change the way you think. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, do it. You'll change where you are in the next 10 years. The biggest thing is you just got to stick at it. You've just got to be consistent at doing it. I think that's where a lot of people drop the ball, is that they give up, after a month it doesn't work, or 6 months, 1 year, this thing hasn't worked. So, I'm going to throw my goals and stick them in the bin, and I'm never going to achieve my goals, or I'm going to give up on, property, and I'm going to try something else. And then after 5 years, they might go back to property, or they might have succeeded in something else, which is far and few between. But, you've only got really a few options. You've either got property, shares, or business. So unless you have one of the other two, and nobody's ever shown me a system that works for one of the other two, other than McDonald's if I buy a business, but I don't have $1 million, or I didn't have $1 million or $2 million to buy one. But nobody showed me a system where ultimately I could make unlimited money and get started for virtually nothing, really. So anyway, I don't need to sell you on property. You guys are already in the course, so you've decided to make a commitment to the program, both financially and time-wise. So back it up with finishing the course and then putting in the work that's required, which is, I did say 3 to 5 hours per week as a minimum. That is a bare minimum. If you're not getting the results that you want, put in more time. You've got it handed to you on a silver platter. You've literally just got to do it. So look, that's all I want to talk about: goal setting. Think about the why, the emotional connection. That's the thing that's actually going to get you there in the short and long term. Just around this. So look, I've given you a monthly self-accountability form. This is ultimately just reviewing your goals. So you go from 10 years down to 5 years, down to 1 year, down to 1 month. So yes, you might have a 10-year goal, but if you're not doing something daily towards that goal, then there's no point. Like, you don't stick a Ferrari up on your wall if that's your dream. Don't stop making it a dream, you dream about it at night, and make it your reality. And start putting things into place. So, do a monthly accountability form and track your progress. and then review it at the end of the year. So we're in November at the moment. We're coming up to, you know, December and then New Year. Everyone sets New Year resolution, New Year goals. Most of them are, you know, crap, because everyone sets a New Year goal of going to the gym. Everyone joins the gym and then nobody turns up and they fall back into those bad habits. So you need to generally do 3 weeks worth of daily habits to form a habit. So it's normally 21 days to form a habit. So it's actually easier to do something consistently daily than it is to do it, you know, once a week or once every 2 weeks. So get into that frame of mind now, before it's Christmas, before it's New Year. You got to have time over Christmas. So you've got this time. Why don't you dedicate it to, you know, doing the program, looking at properties, you know, running feasibilities. Christmas time is the best time, I believe, because there's less buyers in the market. Everyone's on holidays. I've bought quite a few properties over the Christmas period over the last decade.